It is with the utmost pride and sincerity that I present this recording as a living testament and recollection of history in the making during our generation.
Allow me to reintroduce myself.
Time to learn how to write an introduction. Before you start writing, you're going to want to introduce your reader to your ideas so that they'll know whether or not to finish out your paper. Before we get into the technicalities of that, however, I want to introduce you to an idea. Let's think about the city of Orlando for a minute. Ever wonder how a place like this?
6 people are injured in a wild chase that came to a crashing end.
Chopper 2 spotted a vehicle flying through Orlando, weaving in and out of traffic.
Can also be like this? The answer is transitions. Disney is considered the most magical place on Earth because it's nothing like the rest of the Earth. It's nothing like the city of Orlando. Disney is very good at getting you to forget about the world outside the park and focus on the way they want you to see things. Notice how as you enter the park, Disney is showing you things that you will experience, getting you excited for the trip, and slowly replacing normal things like road signs with brightly colored, happier versions. Soon they will remove them completely from the picture. Notice that in this footage from inside the park, you no longer see roads or signs or cars, not even power lines. By the time you're in their park, Disney has taught you just how they want you to think of their world by transitioning you from the real world into the magical world of Disney. It's the same with any good piece of writing. Every person who reads your paper begins reading with their own ideas and thoughts on the topic you're writing about. It helps your reader connect to your paper if you know how to bring them out of their own mind and into yours for a little while. So in an introduction, we act a lot like Disney. We show the reader what it is they're getting into, while slowly placing our ideas about a topic in front of them. This is much less fancy than glowing buildings and boat rides, but it is an effective way of getting someone to understand your ideas. So now let's talk outlines. We'll start by breaking an introduction paragraph into a few sentences so that we can get outlining. We'll start with a hook, then start some previewing sentences and follow up with a thesis, which is a magical word for main idea of your paper. So let's talk about hook sentences. Remember that big fancy gate at Disney? The one that was colored purple and red with cartoon characters all over it? Yeah, that's an attention getter, right? Well, we're going to build a similar gate on your paper with our hook sentence. Just like that gate, you want to create an opening sentence that is going to get your reader's attention. For now, I want you to focus on using a shocking statement, but know that there are many other ways to start a paper that we will learn about later on down the line. So let's say I was writing a paper about, I don't know, Disney. Maybe one way that I could begin my paper is by saying Disney owns over 30,000 acres of property in Central Florida. That is a shocking statement that does a few separate things. 1, it lets me know this paper will probably be about Disney. 2, it lets me know that this paper has some interesting information in it. That gets the reader ready to read more. Once I've hooked my reader's attention, I'll show them a little bit of what I'll be talking about with what we call preview sentences. Some people like to write preview sentences like this. In this paper, I'm going to tell you about how Disney is the best theme park because of its rides, food, and shows. This is very boring, but it does get the job done. A stronger way to preview ideas is by building neat little sentences that give importance and value to what you're saying. Try this, for example. Disney's Imagineers are constantly pushing the limits of entertainment with their creative ways of using rides to tell stories, providing world-class food for their guests, and providing some of the most well-put-together shows in the theme park industry. See how much more information was there? Think back to how Disney shows us some information about their rides on the way into the park. They don't just have a sign that says, "You can ride Tower of Terror, Mission Space, and Splash Mountain." If you want your reader to get excited, you've got to make them excited. Now your thesis is your main idea of your paper. If your paper could be summed up in one sentence, it would be your thesis. Let's say that the thesis for this paper is going to be that Disney is a large part of Central Florida's identity. Everything prior builds up to this central idea. The thesis will also set the tone for the rest of our paper. Once you've written an introduction, you have a model for your conclusion. It's very easy because all you have to do is flip your introduction, change the wording, and voila. I might read this one, because Disney makes up such a large part of Central Florida's culture, it is very important that it is recognized in our community. With its constant innovation and availability, it really adds life to our area. Imagine, if possible, the Orlando area without the Disney parks. Universal could not support the impact that Walt Disney has had on our region. So I've readdressed my thesis by saying that Disney is important to Central Florida. I kind of go over the reasons that I talked about with my body paragraphs, just in brief this time. I don't list them out again because I don't want to be repetitive. And then I close out with a general thought that's intended to get my reader thinking as they end my paper. So that pretty much does it for introductions and conclusions. You now should know how to outline a paper from start to finish, and you can reference this video at any time that you need on it.